Meeting to order. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open up for any public comment,
I will tell you guys, after Mako, we left Thursday. I went down to the Yellowstone County Jail, had a meeting regarding jail space for the pipelines that are going through eastern Montana. And obviously, a lot of those facilities on the eastern side of the state are very small. For the county side, I think Glendive's only got 26, 28 beds. And so they're all fairly that 22 to maybe 32 space between Valley, Roosevelt, in that area, what they have available. And so they're supposed to be starting to do, they have a Keystone pipeline, the White Oaks, and then there's another one that's going through starting in 2019. The major areas of contention are going to be the river crossings, and so they think that they're going to have a spot where they're going to be putting people in jail because of protests. So I offered up to house some of their long-term folks, not their short-term folks, but they need to, if they need to get some of their long-standing residents moved to a different facility. I told them we'd take them here and help them out that way. There's not much else we can do, but they are probably going to get filled up fairly quickly. They have, during Standing Rock, I think they made 650 arrests. So those little jails are not going to be able to sustain that. So they said they would, if they need us, they'll bring them here, and that will help us out too. So it was a long meeting, but productive. So that's about the other.
So they're anticipating a large amount of protesters for those, is that what the deal is?
Yeah, so where they cross they'll cross once they're in Dawson County, and then where's the other one? Up in I think it's Richland County, somewhere in there, maybe Sheridan, where it crosses in Missouri. They're gonna do them simultaneously, so they're bringing 2 crews in to do that, just to speed up the process. But that's what Standing Rock was all because of the river crossing. And so they hope to get them both going, get them both built, and then cap them off and walk away until they get there. So they just want to get them done and complete, and then people will go back to normal life. The only thing that's going to be noticeable is the valve station, the pump station. Other than that, the pipe's going to be like 10 feet underground, so it's not like they're going to have issues there. They just know they're going to have issues trying to get underneath the river. So kind of where that one's at. There's actually, I think there's 5 pipelines that are going through, but they're like carbon dioxide. There's a natural gas one, and then obviously the Keystone, and I can't remember what White Oak's doing. I think they're doing oil too, or petroleum-based products. So they do anticipate some issues again. So the downfall to it is that majority of a lot of the problems they did see in Standing Rock was because of juveniles. So the men and women put all the juveniles up front because there wasn't much you were going to do with them. And so they became the real problem child of the whole thing. It was the underagers. So good information to have, but we might see an influx in folks from eastern Montana.
How long do they expect that to go on for as long as the project goes on, or?
I think they have, it's several weeks, I think, for what they have planned to get underneath the river. So I can't remember, it's not as long as I thought it was going to be, to drill a pipe underneath the river. But I can't remember in weeks. They're going to run 24 hours a day to get it. They're going to hustle through just to get it done out of the way and go about business. So they don't wanna spend too much time messing around, so.
Okay, anybody else, anything else? Let's see, we got minutes here to approve from January 29th, 2018.
Move to approve as submitted?
Motion's been made, second to approve minutes for January 29th. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, let's see, mail, here's the invoices for a new ambulance ride this weekend, I'm assuming.
Yes.
He had a nice drive. Here's Department of Environmental Quality. Permit for 2 dredges in Hauser Lake. It's an ongoing operation, so there's no changes. Notification from the TV district of the annual meeting of the members of the Vigilante Electorate. Department of Transportation. Bridge and Road Safety and Accountability Program, HB House Bill 473 fuel tax allocation. Looks like we're getting $22,396.23. County Department bill for Connect telephone monthly maintenance. Payroll claim for January, $179,522.
Move to approve payroll in the stated amount.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded to pay the payroll claim for January. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Another payroll claim here for $193,113.30.
Move to approve payroll in the stated amount.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay payroll claims to the amount. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same. County Department for DIS. Monthly bill. Yearly certification of roadway mileage, fiscal year 2019. You just get these today?
Yeah, to go through the process and then go to Dana.
Okay. So does Dana have to do this before we sign the paperwork or after?
Before.
Okay,
Shouldn't be much of a change.
so we'll just forward this to Dana then?
Should still come through and go to Ann, and then, when those come back, then they go to Dana.
You wanna keep this in this envelope? or-
Sure, I'm gonna keep
keep it all together.
Okay. We got a couple minutes here, as we go on a community commissioners update. I attended the Mako Conference in Billings for 3 days and the LEPC meeting in Thursday, and applications for the Public Works Director.
I also attended the Mako conference and want to thank you, Wynn, for being there for the duration of the conference. It was exceptional, I thought, the MSPOA and Mako getting together. I know that Bill Barron led that, but I really appreciate having 7 sheriffs in our justice and public safety meeting, and then your input on Thursday was, I think, invaluable. So thanks for that. A lot with the conference, and we can talk about that later, but I also attended the critical care response with elder abuse. Again, thanks, Wynn, for showing up and participating in that. And the interview panel, and then had a number of Board of Crime Control meetings last week. And that's about it. It's a busy couple weeks.
Yeah, I went to those interviews. Also attended a meeting with the MDT there in Helena on the new bridge, Toston Bridge there, and discussed different things. Flynn Lane was brought up on that. We discussed that. And other than that, I had some calls from different roads. Looked at, yes, depends what the weather does. We could have some pretty good flooding problems up in the Lone Mountain Road.
Yeah, I'm glad he plowed that drift out up by your place there. That's a pretty big one. I see the county heading out there this morning to try and get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be terrific right there. Yeah, okay, and otherwise, just business as usual.
If you have a moment, I would say just a problem that's occurred. I talked with Garrett from DIS when I was down in Billings at the Mako. And one of our issues with our current network is we're getting tapped out. We have one something terabyte of storage, and with the body cams and the car cams, and trying to figure out what's actually the best policy for retention of those videos, it's killed us. And so I did chat with him, he's gonna try to figure out something for us to remedy that situation, because right now, what we're finding, especially with the last lawsuit we had, is that, you know, a particular traffic stop or arrest made in six months or a year goes by, and it hasn't been needed, it's disposed of. And then 3 years later, because the federal government's so wonderful and lets people have up to 3 years to file their 1986 lawsuits, that stuff's not there. And so it makes life difficult. So we're trying to figure out the best policy for retention of that information. But it is, we've got, last time I looked, we had like 220 gigabytes of memory left, or storage left in our system. So we're in a pretty critical point where things aren't going to be saved anymore for what's going on. So we're working at trying to figure something out there, but I just don't know if there's, I don't know if there's a cost to it. I don't know what's going to happen with all that. I do know when we went to 1 terabyte, it did cost us like $4,800. But my concern right now is just trying to figure out if we need to isolate the system in and of itself just for body cam, and have a system all by itself for in-car camera videos. You know, got enough technology, it just creates more work. But we got to do something on our side to rectify that before we start having some serious problems. But I just kind of want to give you guys a heads up that DIS is going to be back in our building, hopefully at some point, trying to resolve the situation that's there. So I don't have a cost. I don't have any. It might not be much anything. I don't know if it's an enhancement to the system or what we can do. So he's gonna run a bunch of things and see what's gonna work best for the current situation we're in. So I just wanted, since you brought the DIS bill, it made me think about it, so. But I guess I will say, kind of add on to the conversation for Mako, I know you weren't there, Franklin, and I don't know if you were in the room, Mike. The DOC conversation on Thursday was painful, to say the least. And they are pretty adamant about, they weren't completely forthcoming with their information when they said they want to stay at the 250 state inmates in county jails. December, they told me they were 171, which led me to the next question I didn't ask, because I didn't want to be inflammatory more than I already was. But when that bill was passed in June of 2017 to get rid of those state inmates in county jails, they were 572. So that means they dumped 401 inmates somewhere, and I'm gonna assume right back in the communities. And some of the other things that they brought up, I asked and they didn't really respond, was how many of those people they've kicked out of jail on DOC sentences are back under current local jurisdiction offenses, and they said they didn't have that information either. But they should get an alert every time somebody who's on DOC gets put in jail. So they should have a general idea, but they didn't want to specify. I can appreciate where they're going, but I don't think from a public safety component, as much as they're preaching to commissioners and sheriffs and everybody else around the state, it's all about the dollars, it's not about the public safety component. Because we're definitely seeing an increase across the state in new felony charges from probation employees. So kind of wanted to give you a little heads up on that as well, Franklin, since you weren't there. I didn't know if Mike was there either. So I've been told several times this last week I need to be nice, so I'll work on that best I can. So
Go.
I take offense to that comment. I thought you were very nice. I thought you were hard-hitting, but not in a rude way. You didn't let, crap fly. And I'm not sure that that isn't a good thing. You kind of held to the question and wanted that question asked, and when it wasn't, or answered. But I did not think you were rude or unkind in any way.
Eric told me I had to be nice. That's okay. Tony Harbaugh told me I had to be nice to Bill Barron too, so. And I think Bill appreciated it. We had a meeting, and I don't know if you guys were aware of it, the MSPOA Executive Board, so it was, the three vice presidents, I'm the third vice, and then Chuck Curry, and then Alan Fulton's the first vice president, and then Pat Roos is the president, and then Leo Dutton, Brian Gookin, TJ McDermott and his undersheriff, Mike Winters out of Yellowstone County, and trying to think who else is sitting at the table with us. Met with the executive board of Mako to discuss basically the animosity between county commissioners and sheriffs, because it's not just here, it's everywhere. We are the most contentious people in the world to get along with, and so it's something that Mako recognizes. It's obviously something that President Barron recognizes as a problem as well. TJ McDermott from Missoula County is having some issues over there. So basically, instead of putting it back under the rug like it's gone for years and years and years, I think we had a pretty good, I think it was a very good meeting about it. I think we got some direction to move forward. And it is probably going to look like maybe some legislative changes in the aspect of what needs to happen. Just because when the Constitution was changed in 1972, it worked for the time. It needs to be updated. The Office of the Sheriff is not something I think as we see through national news and social media right now is not something that anybody in the world should and could do. There's lots of lawsuits, lots of liability, and so our argument was to let the people who are the topic experts make the decisions and rely on them to do the very best they can without being scrutinized. And so, unfortunately, state law says that the sheriff can be 18, county resident and that's it. And I think that's concerned a lot of folks, so I think there's some legislative things we're gonna look at along with the corner stuff as well, so. I think it was good, and I think we made some progress. Tony told me I need to be nice during that meeting too, but I guess I'm just one that, you know, instead of beating around the bush, let's just get to the meat of the potatoes and get business taken care of, so. I thought it was a productive week, for the most part, so, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Flynn Lane.
You wanna go ahead there, Warren.
What do you wanna hear, Franklin? I mean, what?
Well, I guess it's, everything pretty much like, I had the meeting at your place that time when the state come over, you know. Yeah. And then here, the meeting we had last spring or winter, whenever it was.
Whatever it was, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
recall.
and
Yeah.
I guess basically, if it still stays the same, that the biggest thing the state wants is if you would abandon, they wanna abandon the one approach.
Yes.
And use the other one. And you agree with that, yeah? And you, is gonna furnish, the gravel fill,
I'll do the gravel, the fencing, the easement, the,
fencing.
Culverts,
Culverts, yeah.
basically the only thing that I can't provide is the labor and the top dress. You know, everything else I can, and I don't know about the legal work as far as the, easement, but I imagine Corey could probably do that.
Yeah.
It's just basically a safety concern. I mean, we got buildings on both sides of the road and traffic's going faster and more of it all the time. It's just, you know, if that was a highway or a new construction, I wouldn't even be allowed to have the house where it's at, so close, you know. I mean, when it was all laid out years ago, they didn't envision what it's become today.
So are you gonna abandon the approach that comes from your house to the highway?
That's the highways deal. They didn't want two approaches side by side, you know.
Okay,
So they said I can have one or the other. So, you know, if this doesn't fly, then I'll keep the one that's there, but.
It's a big safety issue, like discussed that at the state the other day. You come out with equipment, you gotta go down the highway for 300 yards, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Different things, and the new approach, use that, you'll just be straight
Straight
across,
across.
it'll be a big thing.
Oh, it's much safer, and
Yeah.
cattle too, you know,
Yeah.
cattle, you name it, it'd be much safer. And then we were proposing to leave the existing Flynn Lane in place and call it for local use or farm use or what have you, for people moving equipment up the county road can get all the way to 6 Mile. And it doesn't even have to be maintained, I mean, it could be farmer maintained, or, I'm open to suggestions on that.
Would you pull that intersection out there?
Which one?
The one at Flynn Lane right now?
The way the state's gonna do it is Flynn Lane's gonna go all the way to 6 Mile.
So instead of being able to cut out, you just go along the fence? That's,
Yeah, yeah, but then that's the nice part about, if you cut off north of my place, then it's hitting a nice straight 90-degree, because that 45 sucks.
Yeah.
It's dangerous as hell,
yep.
especially in big rigs.
Yeah,
'Cause you have a hell of a time looking over your shoulder to see what's coming.
and eliminating so much of that traffic at your place.
Yeah.
I think your load shoots right out there, so when you're backed in like the semi, you got the road blocked off, don't you?
No, I built it so that I don't.
Oh, did you change it some? What-
Well, the angle of it, I'm off the
Oh,
road.
okay.
Yeah, so it's still fully functional the way it is there.
But the safety on both sides is
Yeah.
important for you and for the public using
Yeah.
that road and the highway.
Well, that's just it, kids and dogs and cats and traffic and, it's,
so the county would abandon that road from the new access to 6 Mile, right? And then you would abandon your access onto the highway
Yep.
from your house.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much everything that you said before and what the state has said.
yeah.
They're just wanting to get the decision on it because they're starting to move ahead now.
Well, they're wanting to know, yeah.
Yeah, they're, they thought they'd try to get the right-of-way stuff done this coming week.
They're working on, they're negotiating with everybody now on
Right.
acquisitions, yeah.
So I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
One is, we generally have a letter from MDT letting the commission know and providing that paper trail that, A, they support this, and this is what they envision, and this is what the requirements are. Do you have a letter for us from MDT?
I don't, but that could sure be attained.
Okay,
Both Franklin and I have met with Vaughn, and they're, you know, it's a go, but I don't think we've got anything on paper, but it's actually drawn onto their new plans.
Yeah,
But I'm sure we could attain that letter, that's not
I
an
think
issue.
we would need that before we could make a decision.
Okay.
And then the other thing is the road department. Who from the road department, did you guys engage Dana, the supervisor, or any of the staff in these meetings?
Not at the meetings, no, no.
Dana was here and tentatively agreed when we talked about it last spring.
Yeah,
And another thing that we would need to make this decision is a cost estimate. What would be the cost to the county? What would be required of the county? Franklin said you would do the easement, you said Corey would do the easement. Is Corey involved in the easement
Well,
discussion at this point?
yeah.
Do we have answers to those questions?
Well, see, I don't know, how big a deal the easement is, you know, I'm not a lawyer, you know, so I mean, as far as the county estimate, that would almost, you know, I could get an estimate from a third party, but I don't know how to get a county estimate, I don't know your county labor rates or, you know, so I mean, that would almost have to be a road supervisor estimate or what have you. I mean, I could get an estimate from a third party, but that's not really relevant to this deal, you know.
I wouldn't think so either.
No, we should have it from Dana, which is why I asked if he was involved.
Yeah.
We do have an email from Dana advising caution on this. He's not ready to move forward, he hasn't been engaged. And then also the scope of the project. So again, this would involve the road department, it would involve the MDT.
Yeah.
What is the scope of the project? What are the details, again, as to what will be done privately? Will this be a county road? Will it be private?
Well, no,
What are those parameters, and then, what are those details? We don't have that yet.
Yeah.
We need a whole lot more documentation in order to move forward, and we need to have our road department engaged, since we're talking about county road work.
Yeah.
Through work, you
Well,
talk
the road
about
department
labor.
was engaged before, when we had the first meeting.
Dana is not here today for this. He did send an email to Mike and I, and I would expect, I'm not gonna read it, I'm gonna let Dana speak for himself, but we need to hear from Dana on this in order to have some of these questions answered, and we need answers before we can move forward.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I think the safety element makes a lot of sense. We just can't jump into the pool until we know how much water's in it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you're talking about about 1,000 feet of road, so, you know, it's, don't get too carried away with the scale of it, because it's not a huge scale thing, you know.
No,
But I agree, we
what
need
is
to
his
have all the
budget?
details.
What is his goals for next year? How much time does he have? We don't have any of that because we don't have the road department or road supervisor here to answer those. We can't commit them
Yeah,
without hearing from them.
Well, I think we can, but they gotta listen to us, supposedly we're supposed to be the boss.
Mike, would you say?
I think we still need to,
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying we need some answers.
and I think that everything, I mean, all the aspects of it are good, but I think we still need to know what it's gonna cost us, and we need to have written spec'd out as to just exactly who's gonna do what, where.
yeah, no, I agree.
Roads that are being abandoned and everything.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know what it's gonna cost us before we get into this.
Yep.
Here's what it says, it says, I'm just forwarding the agenda, I notice that relocation of Flynn Lane is on, I see no reason to relocate the portion of road, I would hope that you would not enter this discussion so far along. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, and Dana's told me that before, that he doesn't see why, you know, that he should have to do that, and, you know, I guess, you know, for what it's worth, our property tax is pretty damn high, and I've never asked for a damn thing from any of you guys. north of $20,000 a year on my taxes, so. And I know that goes, you know, that helps a lot of people, but what I'm saying is, you know, we're talking 1,000 feet of road here, and I'm donating a hell of a lot towards it, so. You know, I think that should have a little bit of impact here.
Absolutely.
And Warren, I don't think anyone of us is saying no, what we're saying is we need some more information.
Well,
We
that's
just don't
fine,
have
you know,
anything
and that's
here.
fine, but, you know, it's, since the last meeting, nothing's been done, and now, you know, Dana comes in at this point and, you know, basically says hell no, and, you know, if he wants to say hell no, let's get some cost estimates from him, and so, yeah, we need to figure out what it's gonna cost, you know.
Can I jump in, just because I can?
Sure.
When we talk about safety, I think it's a huge component of it. I will tell you, since I am in the first house on Flynn Lane, the amount of traffic that travels Flynn Lane, because there's a bunch of people that live in the Tosser-Mayersburg area that don't have driver's license, like to drive drunk, they drive Flynn Lane. And, what Warren says is exactly right, his house is way too close to the road. And so his buildings, they've been there forever, that's the way it is, but that Flynn Lane has become the main thoroughfare for people who are doing inappropriate things in motor vehicles, and the speeds that they go by are a lot higher than they used to be. And they're really nice, drive through my fences and never stop to say, hey, by the way, your critters are now standing on the road. It's one of those things, the dynamics of what's that roadway has been has changed, and I would tend to disagree with Dana in regards to that thought process, that it doesn't need to be changed. It's, one of these days, something bad's gonna happen, and I guess there's dogs, cats, goats, whatever, maybe run across the road, and somebody's hauling the mail down the road faster than they should, and they, under the influence of what have you, they could drive into one's house fairly easy. And that is concerning as well, from the public safety component, I'm sure it is for Warren. But I agree that everything needs to be I's dotted, T's crossed, but I think this is a very viable point where to change that. I understand it takes time, but this is probably the best thing when something will happen, and before something really bad happens out there. So that's just my 2 cents.
You're just damn lucky so far.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're not under a huge time crunch here, you know. I mean, we need to get it figured out, but it's, the highway is a couple of years from.
No, they're planning on letting it this summer.
Are they really?
They're gonna bid it, yeah, that's why the push is on
They're
now.
getting closer then,
Yeah,
yeah. But even then, you know, that building, that road could probably go into fiscal year 20, you know, really, 19, 20. I mean, it's not like it has to be dug out of the 2018 budget for sure, and possibly not even the 2019 budget, so it's not like it's gonna get sprung on you where you got.
we're not talking about that much. I
No,
mean,
no.
what the hell, you're furnishing the material, it's,
Yeah.
it really isn't much at all, is what it amounts to.
And the thing is, you know, the county's crushed gravel up further top makes out of that same pit for years, so the crushed gravel's there too, and all they have to pay is the crushing, they don't have to buy that either, cause I'll
Right.
donate that too, so.
And I don't think we should be speaking for Dana. He sent out a quick email. We don't know if his hesitation, I would assume his hesitation is more not having any information. So let's not speak for Dana, but he is the road supervisor. He needs to be a part of this. If we're talking about county road, county crew work, it's just plain.
He was here on the first meeting we had, that's what I keep saying.
Yeah, and he and I have had a couple conversations about it, so he's well aware of it, but I know for a fact he does not wanna do it, you know, so he's made that clear to me too, so.
So I guess what I would be in support of this, I'm pretty sure, but what I would like to see is to have Dana come up with the county costs. I'd also like to have what your costs are gonna be involved on this, because you gotta do the easement, what's the, how much is that road base worth? How much are your culverts gonna cost, and how much is your fencing gonna cost?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Do you want, like on the fencing, you wouldn't want material cost, you want actual,
Want
You know.
material and labor, because if,
Yeah.
if the county was
Final
gonna go
cost,
in and do it, that's what we would have to do.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so like third party cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that, and then, as far as the easement, I don't know if that's my deal or a county deal, as far as the legal work, cause it'd be a county-owned easement. So I don't know if I would be the one to get that estimate, or if Corey could provide that, or if we, go through a third-party lawyer, which I can sure find one. That seems silly if you got Corey here,
Yeah, maybe good to talk with Corey on
Yeah.
that.
but I could sure do a hard cost on the stuff that's out there.
Mhm. Yeah,
Is there a power line
Okay.
that runs by there?
Is there what?
Is there a power line that runs across there?
No, it's on the east side of Fort
Oh, okay.
so it's good to go there. Possibly a full line and stuff, but we're not really digging, so it shouldn't really get back into the underground stuff. Other than that, I got 2 irrigation ditches that I have to put culverts across. And there's already a smaller approach off the highway right at that spot, so,
That's where you run your bills through.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. All right,
well,
well,
like the state agreed about the only thing, other than maybe a little more work on their approach and move the Flynn Lane sign over to this other area, that's about all
Yeah.
the state's really involved in.
Yeah.
Other than they just wanna know.
yeah, I mean, they already had, the turn lane on the highway is already there, so,
You're right.
yeah.
Because that time, that meeting was held at your place, the state, they turned in on that approach first.
Yeah, they turned in and, wanted to pull out into the field, yeah. Yeah, for sure, so. You got a time frame for that information, Mike, when you want the estimates, or?
yeah, I know we probably talk to Dane and see how soon he can get something together, 2 weeks or something, give you enough time to get everything together.
I can buy it together.
Figure out what your easement's gonna be and everything, and we'll come back and revisit it then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds fine.
And the letter from MDT.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you get that, Franklin?
Yeah,
Or at least give me the contact information?
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
contact.
'cause I don't know which guys you've been talking to, there's so damn many of them up there, but,
Yeah, the ones that were at your place that time, that's Kevin, well, he's retired, so there's another person.
okay.
And I'll probably talk with the engineer first.
Yeah, we got the engineer and then that, was it Tracy, is that her name?
Yeah, Teresa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Therese,
yeah, she's out of the Butte office.
yeah,
And I was supposed to get back with her.
yep, for sure, so. Okay,
So we can have all that together, we'll try to get it back on the agenda for the 12th of March.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds fine.
Okay, thanks.
Good, thanks, guys.
Warren.
Thanks, Warren.
Thanks, man.
See you, buddy. Stay warm out there.
Try to.
Can I get that email back?
What's that?
Can I get that email back?
Yeah. Okay, we'll go on to the discussion for the county procurement policy. Does anybody else have any more information or input on this? Did you send out an email this morning? Laura sent out an email with some more corrections this morning, did everybody get that?
Sure.
Well, I saw, well, yeah, I got it.
Did you wanna look at the guys? There's just a couple more items that were changed. The only comment that I had, Mike, was, and I don't know how much of a change it's gonna be, it says, and it says the public works director, but if we don't end up with a public works director, do we just have to change that to road and solid waste, or how do we address that?
I think that's correct, isn't it?
It could stay regardless. Even if we don't have one today, we could have one in a year. Even if we had one in a year, we could not have one in 2 years. And that's why I asked for the language that says in any other departments that apply.
Oh, okay.
Kind of opens the door for that.
Where was that at?
In the page 2,
Definitions.
Okay.
Definitions of department heads, elected officials.
Something.
Okay.
It wasn't highlighted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been,
definitions number 3.
Yeah.
Highlights what Laura did this morning.
prior to the comments in yellow, Mike had gone through from our meeting 2 weeks ago and crossed out and underlined those changes from our discussion.
Mike Myers has a question? Comment?
Okay, one thing that kinda concerns me, you make it sound like in small supplies and items, anything over $5,000, it sounds like you're gonna have to go through a competitive bidding process, which in the state MCA, you don't have to unless you're under 80. But I'm afraid anything that's over 5,000, I mean, I can understand putting some language in there for, coming for, permission to purchase 5,000, but be careful about every time you turn around, you're gonna be, as it says here, supplies and small items of equipment and contracts valued under 5,000 without going through competitive bidding process, but it almost sounds like it could be a catch-22 where you have to do bidding process over 5,000.
No, I think that's the invitation, or informal bid.
Yeah.
We define that in the definitions, informal bid process. And I think it says there should get 3 bids from different sources or something. Just to the telephone or something, and try to back them up by writing, I think it is email.
So you're saying, actually, because it's saying without going through the competitive, so even if you did the informal or competitive.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do a competitive bid process until you hit 80,000.
Correct.
Well, and you shouldn't have to do an informal for anything under 5.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
So I think that's what would be, maybe add.
Clarified better.
Add the word without going through the informal or competitive bidding process, I think would be clarified.
Yeah, cause I just been afraid that anything comes like $20,000 for you guys, not almost every day,
Thanks.
and
That's because of you.
I know, it is because of me.
You like to spend money, Mike.
Yeah, I do, I love spending the sheriff's money.
He does too.
So, that's what I'm afraid of, I just wanna make sure that, you have the option of not having a competitive bid under 80, cause you don't.
Yeah,
I like that.
I mean, cause it's in there, but it's not really super clear, or somebody could really misinterpret it.
We have a few in the world that do that.
Do you think that's needed also under larger purchases and contracts?
Probably, yes,
Probably.
not the major ones. Major would be 80,000 plus, and that's statutorily required to have it.
Yeah.
The feds are actually 150,000, but on these federal grants, we have to go with whichever's the lowest. Right now, state statute's lowest. That should be up to about 150,000 actually. It is.
That's just a little trout.
Yeah, nowadays. And by the way, Brandon has to do it.
Yeah, it's good.
Daryl, we incorporated your suggestions as well?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure. Thanks, Mike.
so are we gonna reword that area for the informal bid process to be included between the 5,000 and the 80,000.
I think it's a good addition. Oh, I didn't see where it would fit for the 5 to 80, but we certainly, I think it's a good addition to the small items, section
Okay.
3. I would think it would be wise to add it into section 4.
Okay.
So I say yes. Just not sure where.
Does anybody else have any other comments or concerns?
The only, and I guess I remember seeing it, but I don't forget where, I don't remember where it was at. Now, obviously, like I said, one of my concerns, I understand the philosophy behind it, but, obviously one of my concerns is something that comes awry, that is unexpected, that's outside the budget process. You know, right now, everything that breaks, that's over the $5,000 threshold, I come over and talk to you guys about, but I guess in the same breath, if we put this in place, people are gonna be sitting here in front of you on a more regular basis, asking for things. I guess I'm curious to know if it has to be done in a public meeting setting, if it's over the 5,000. Or if it can be a email to the 3 commission and yay or nay, or whatever it may be, to make things happen, because in the grand scheme of things, if it's winter and, you know, yeah, I need tires on the car, or it's something that happened, I mean, not necessarily do I have a week or 2 weeks to get on an agenda. And I guess that's where, it doesn't necessarily specify that I saw that it doesn't have to be, especially on that small, not necessarily small, but the large, that it has to be in a public meeting, or if it has to be, or it can be outside of a public meeting through some sort of telephone, email, text message, tweet, whatever social media you want to use, whatever it may be, as long as there's some sort of communication and approval, if that works. I guess I just didn't see that in there, if that's appropriate. Does that make sense?
It does, and it was actually one of my concerns too, when, twofold. One is, I didn't want to end communication for anything under 5,000. Oh, well, I can spend freely up to $5,000 and don't have to even tell the commissioners. Didn't want to go there. And I also was concerned about everybody getting bogged down, being able to address emergencies or things that don't quite fit an emergency but are still emergent without coming to see us. And like you said, sometimes waiting 2 weeks to do so when we're at conference.
Yeah.
So what I did is I added official to section 4. That has to be approved, officially approved. The intent with that was that would be a meeting atmosphere, so that's the 5,000 to 80. The intent also was, without adding official, the small items could be okayed via email. Everybody can sit down and send off an email, and everybody should be able to get a response within 15, 30 minutes. So that was the intent there. If it's not clear enough, I think we need to solidify that
Well, I looked
to
at.
meet those 2 goals.
I looked at like the last 2 years, when it's been the Drake Pole push to Ford, we've usually had a vehicle die on us, and we've had to utilize that push-pull drag, our broken, defunct patrol vehicle down there. And it usually happens on a Friday, and I'm going, I've got 2 days to get this approved, to get whatever we need done. And so that's a large purchase item, and so I guess that's where I'm concerned, because if I had to get on an agenda, I'm 2 weeks out, and that dog isn't gonna hunt. So, I guess, in a perfect world, I guess, if we lived in a perfect world and things would be fine and dandy, I'd be fine with it. But I think there should be a caveat under exigent circumstances deemed by either a department head or an elected official that it can be recognized that a phone conference or some sort of communication to exercise that process quicker would be appropriate as well. versus having an agenda item. I guess that would be, or at least have it to where initially it can be approved through some sort of phone conference or email or what have you, but then on the next business day, or next commission business, it's brought up and discussed further, but I just know that we've been put in that position twice now, and I've got, both of them have been approved, it's just been jumping through the phones and getting it done that way. So I guess I just don't wanna strong arm somebody. I don't plan on being the sheriff for the next 100 years, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't plan on being commissioners for the next 100 years, so, I don't want to put something in stone then. Because reality is we want to put it in stone and not have to revisit it on an annual basis to clarify. So that would be my thought.
You have a suggestion on, I would think a sentence per section could make that intent more solid. Is that intent, does it meet your concerns, I guess is the first question. And the second question then, can we wordsmith 2 sentences, 1 per section, to make that more solid and understood? So does the intent fit the situations, do you think, Gwen?
I'm on the wrong page.
Oh.
Like, I'm not even finding this. Where is it? I'm on the wrong page. So,
Win, if you work on 4, I'll work on 3.
well,
How's that?
I guess what my reading this, I brought another issue. One is, we've bought a lot of vehicles from Broadwater Ford, and we've been beat up because of not buying locally. So, that's a double-edged sword for us to fall on. However, in number 4, you do have in there that there's a 3-bid process. I will tell you that Bison Ford and other places can probably beat Broadwater Ford. So, do we want to, you guys get as much grief about it as I do. So, do we want something locked in that tight to where everything in Broadwater County costs more than it should? So, do we want to have something in there where it's the lowest, most reasonable provider that for the thing? Because I can buy a Ford F-150 from 3 different dealers, and I'll tell you that the cheapest one is not going to be from Broadwater Ford. So, is that a sword you guys want to fall on as well? So,
We do have in D, most responsive and responsible vendor. And if your focus is on the economic viability of our community, responsible equals Broadwater Ford, because they are
Some days.
local and, right. I haven't taken the heat you have. I have gotten actual support for supporting local. So I hear your concern, and I would bet you probably do take more heat than I do on that. But if you want something more solid, that's fine with me, if you think that that's not solid enough. And Mike, feel free to chime in here too.
Here's what she's referring to. It doesn't say you have to do it.
no, you're on
That's
2.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
the
looking at
definition.
number 2 though, over here, number 4. So, that's where I was looking at. So,
You want that same
not
exact
under
language?
definition, and that's the thing is, just, we wanna make sure that things are clear throughout. We have a couple folks, let's not forget, that come in and scrutinize everything that we do in every form or fashion. If there's some sort of loophole, they will find it because they have nothing better to do with their lives than go through county paperwork and see how they can cause a ruckus. So, I guess that's the thing is, I just don't wanna be, we can do, if that's what we wanna do, that's what we can do. But,
Well,
I guess that's the,
Can I say something? Having been through this process before, I totally understand what you're saying, and it goes both ways. There's the other part of the people that say, well, how come you bought this vehicle and it wasn't in the best interest of the county taxpayers, you paid $5,000 more for this vehicle, then you take that part of the heat as well, right? And having done this before, you have to, I think you have to make that decision based on the best interest of the county. And when it comes time for Broadwater Ford to bid next time, they're a little more competitive.
Well, the nice thing is they did have
So-
a state bid, so.
And you do have that, you have that option, and that gives you a little bit of an out, to take advantage of those kind of things. So, yeah, I know you take a bruise either way you go sometimes on these deals, and, yeah, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, you know, who knows where the state bid's gonna go next year. We got lucky that the state bid was with Broadwater Ford this last year, so. That's the thing, you know, I'm not worried about today, I'm obviously worried about 5-10 years from now and what things are gonna be, so. Like I said, unless you guys have lots of time in your hands where you wanna come back and revisit everything all the time, I just wanna make sure that we got all the ducks in the row and meet the best interest for the future, not just today. But if you think it's clear and clarifies, I mean, you guys know the same people that I deal with that come and scrutinize my world, they scrutinize your world, so if you feel it meets the threshold with you, then we're probably fine, so.
I would guess that if you looked at 4 in C and D, evaluate the vendor's price quote in relation to experience, service policy, warranty, and geographic location. But then you go down here, it says award the contract to the most responsive and responsible vendor whose price is most advantageous to the county with the price and other factors considered. So you're giving yourself that leeway to do that. And I think I would agree with Darrell, if Broadwater Ford comes in here and they think that they're gonna sell you a rig simply because they're in Broadwater County, not saying that they are, but numerous other people in the county, because they are in the county, will charge you more because they're in the county, they think that's their right to have that business. It's not.
Like I said,
It's a two-way street.
I just wanna make sure that everything.
And each situation is unique. And you're right, we had people coming here and scrutinizing one of our departments for buying coffee. Well, that's a couple $100 maybe per quarter. So, you know, yeah, you gotta take it in with a grain of salt,
You got scrutinized over a water tank, so.
right? Yeah,
I can remember just a couple of months ago, we were doing this ambulance thing. And one of the prerequisites that Mary and the ambulance crew wanted is they wanted a Ford vehicle, not a Dodge. Because the dealership is locally in town, and they're volunteers. If they take that ambulance in to do service, repair job, they don't have to drive to Helen, have somebody pick them up, bring them back. And that was one of the criteria we decided, we're just gonna take Ford bids on that chassis because of the service is local. And that's very important. They did not wanna go to Bozeman, and they didn't wanna go to a Dodge dealer in Bozeman or in Helen.
Yeah, but you can run into a problem there too.
Good.
I mean, you specify a specific product like that, you can run into some serious problems there.
But we had bids and everybody bidded that way, so. There's only 2 vendors that bid anyway. They both bid for Ford. Anyway, correction on section 5, major purchases. It says, the sentence, paragraph starts out subject to, and then, I believe Laura crossed out. And then it says 7-5- instead of 4302, it should be 2302. 43 deals with municipalities, you want the county part.
thanks, Mike.
That should be 7-5, 3201, or 2301, excuse me,
2301.
2301, 2301.
For clarity purposes, and I think what you're